Good morning. My name is Suzan Baucum, and I will be moderating a panel today for the first collaborated joint endorsement interviews for the Veterans in Politics International, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus, the Nevada Veterans Association, and the Armed Forces Chamber PAC. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Monzu Italian Oven and Bar, for allowing us to use their facility today, Stephanie Phillips, candidate for United States Senate, and an anonymous donation on behalf of Jerry Willick. So each of the panel members are going to introduce themselves to you today, and then once they go through and identify who they are, then I'm going to have each of you give a brief statement about who you are and why you're running. Let's try to keep all of our answers today to around 30 to 45 seconds. And if I could just ask our panel members, because we're short on time, this is a very quick interview today, that if we can get directly to our question without a lot of preface prior to it. Okay? Thank you. Jim?
Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans in Politics. Good morning.
Andre Haynes, Founder and CEO of Armed Forces Chamber.
Patsy Brown, President of Armed Forces Chamber.
Donna Darden, CEO, Perfect Seminars, and also representing Veterans for Democrats.
Rob Lauer, Veterans in Politics.
Frank Friends, Veterans in Politics.
The Democratic Party.
Barbara Leuschen, representing Veterans in Politics.
Okay, and now for our candidates that are running for Justice of the Peace in Boulder City, the Boulder Township. Chris, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Thank you, and thank you, Steve, for inviting us, and thank you to Monzu. By the way, if you haven't eaten here, do. It's amazing. I'm running for JP in Boulder City for, well, a plethora of reasons. Number one, I'm a lifelong Boulder City resident, my third generation Boulder City resident. My grandfather worked on the construction of the dam and then was an electrician at the dam, raised all six of his kids, one of whom was my father, who raised my brother and I there, and then I raised my kids there. So Boulder City is very near and dear to my heart. And when I learned that Judge Miller is retiring, I felt that there's a need, and I feel that I'm by far the most qualified person in this race, 30 years of experience, done well over 1,000 trials and preliminary hearings, and I can do the job. There will be no learning curve if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
Good morning. My name is Szafranski. I'm also running for the Boulder Township Justice of the Peace. Similar to Chris, I've always seen a judicial path in my career. I grew up in Boulder City, graduated from Boulder City High School. I went to college in Arizona. I'm a licensed attorney there. Moved back to Boulder City. I'm now a licensed attorney in Nevada. And I've, like I said, always seen a judicial path in my career. I've molded my career thus far to best serve on the bench. I have public service experience in the city attorney's office, and I now own and operate my own law firm out of Boulder City currently.
Thank you. Our first panelist will ask a question, Jim Jonas.
This is an easy question. Both of you get 45 seconds to answer it. What exactly does a Justice of the Peace do? Because a lot of viewers and listeners don't understand. They don't get the whole, there's all these different Justice of the Peace, District Court, all that. Just briefly explain.
All right, so it's more confusing in Boulder City because Victor Miller is both our Justice of the Peace and our Muni Court judge. So the Muni Court judge by city ordinance is appointed by the city council. We have been fortunate for the last 30-ish years to have the elected JP and the Muni judge serve in both capacities. My father was on city council in the 80s, and there were two different, and it was, let's just say, not good. So the JP handles misdemeanors in the whole township of Boulder Township, gross misdemeanors and felonies that go to preliminary hearing to decide whether there's going to be a bind over, which is a term of art, to downtown to district court, small claims court cases and eviction cases, so landlord-tenant stuff. And that's the extent of what a JP does.
Lauren.
Just to add on that, that is correct. They also handle protective orders, weddings, those two, but Chris nailed the rest of the qualifications.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber. This question is for both of you. Is this your first time ever running for public office? And if not, tell us about the past candidacies.
Lauren, we'll start with you.
This is my first time running for public office, so it's been a full-time job in and of itself, and I love it, but it is my first time, so I have no other experience running for an open office.
Yeah, Mr. Haynes, I've never run for public office. I never really aspired to run for public office until I saw that, the Boulder City Township Justice Court was open, and frankly, I just felt the time's right. I mean, I can do this job. I've been practicing in front of Vic Miller literally since I did my first trial. One of my first trials in front of him in 1994 in the old courthouse, which was in the basement of the current city hall. So the time was right with him retiring.
Patsy.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber. This question is for both of you. What strategies do you propose to enhance community engagement and foster positive relationships between the justice system and the local residents of Boulder?
I can go first if that's okay. So as I previously stated, I used to work in the city attorney's office for Boulder City. So I've had the opportunity to build great relationships with our local law enforcement, those at the courthouse. My husband's actually the chief marshal in the court there in Boulder City. And so that gave me a great opportunity to work with the residents while I worked in the prosecution side. I'm now working in the criminal defense side, so I get to foster those relationships. And I just believe open communication and transparency within our judicial system is number one. And how do we do that is keeping residents informed of what's going on in our town. Boulder City is small, it's unique, but we are not, we have the same issues, that Las Vegas see as well, but we're just smaller. And so I really intend to be that open line of communication with our residents.
Yeah, I agree with Lauren that, the small town nature of Boulder City is unique and needs to be fostered. One of the things that I am associated with is the Breaking the Cycle Drug Court program. I've been the defense attorney for 5 years. That's in the Muni Court now, so let's not confuse. There's no justice court, drug court in Boulder City. So I have worked with law enforcement, the community relations officer. I mean, there's a number of community partners that support that program. The Sunrise Rotary is a big one, and these need to continue to be fostered, because without the community support of that program would not exist, despite the yeoman's job that Judge Miller has done in creating it.
Donna.
My name's Donna Darden. Welcome. With this role, you will be expected to officiate secular marriage and civil union, witnessing oaths and signatures, taking depositions, ensuring subpoenas, and taking acknowledgments. Question number one is, do you harbor any religious beliefs that would keep you from performing a union with the same sex?
Go first. I do not at all, so that would not be an issue for me. I think everyone's religion is individualized, it's personal, it's for you and not for me to judge, what you believe in, as I would hope somebody wouldn't judge me for what I believe in, and I don't think that really has a place in performing those type of ceremonies.
Yeah, and thank you for the question, Ms. Jardin. I was raised in the Episcopal Church in Boulder City, and we had a gay priest. And nobody cared. And so I've been, I was raised by quasi hippies and had the most I mean, I have gay family members. I really don't think it should be an issue. And I think that making it an issue in this day and age is fairly archaic.
Rob Lauer, Veterans of Politics. Public safety has been a major issue in the last several years with bail issues. And I wanted to find out how you would actually rule for bail in a specific case. An example, there was a gentleman who had multiple violent felony convictions. He gets arrested again for a violent crime. Does he get bail in your courtroom?
Rob, I'm going to be careful here, okay? And I certainly appreciate the question and respect the question. But I've read very closely Canon 3 and 4 of judicial ethics, and I believe every judge is precluded from answering a question on a hypothetical in that regard. Now, that being said, I can answer it vaguely by saying I will follow the law, period. And bail reform, while it was needed, has maybe gone too far in some aspects. Look, I was practicing in the 90s when people went to prison for smoking weed, okay? I think that's archaic, but yet I will tell you that putting a high bail on somebody that can't get out is a violation of our state constitution.
Thank you for the question. I'll second that as well on speaking on a specific hypothetical, but I think it's important to look at the citizen, the person that's in front of you. We have risk assessments. We have ways to evaluate defendants that are standing before us and understand, their risk and the community's risk. And so I would take that very seriously and follow the law accordingly when evaluating.
Frank?
Frank Friends, Veterans of Politics. So it's almost like from what you guys tell me, you're kind of like judge, jury, and executioner. You do everybody's job from up there, and the only one person is you. Is there a specific law that you have seen affect the citizens of Boulder that you would like to see either changed or just completely eradicated because it just does not apply, or it's archaic, as you were saying? A law that is in Boulder that you've seen affect your constituents?
Thanks for the question. I think there's two in there. One, I don't see the JP position being judge, jury, executioner. Remember, we're doing probable cause hearings, which are contested matters, to determine whether the defendant should be bound over for jury trial, right? I mean, that's a check and balance in our system that I think is very needed. In a misdemeanor trial, we're the judge and we can convict, but we can't convict gross misdemeanors and felons. We send those downtown. The number two part of your question, there is an ordinance that I'd like to see changed, but it's beyond a judicial capability, and that is the noise ordinance, and I'm going to tell you why. It was written when our charter was written in 1959, and it has the most vague definition of a noise violation, and there have been numerous at my local friend's brewery violations that are absolutely unprovable. And so that we need that law to keep up with modern times and maybe make it a decibel meter violation. So that's one.
Lauren.
Thank you for the question. I agree with Chris. I don't think criminally I see it as an issue where we would have any sway currently as the JP. I do see issues within the city. I know currently Title 11 is coming up to be amended regarding short-term rentals in Boulder City. It's a hot topic issue there. They're seeking to outlaw them. And so I see that as being a hot topic button issue, not something that Chris or I would have any, sway on at that point. But as a citizen, I see that as a huge issue within Boulder City.
Tara.
Tara Kellogg, the Democratic Party. My question is going back to, I think you had mentioned that you handled domestic matters, and I'm going to go back to the cyber stalking. I understand that cyber stalking is extremely difficult to prove for somebody who is stalking, harassing, threatening you for years upon years. And then one day, under a deposition or arbitration or whatever, they admit to it. What would you do then?
Okay, well, Ms. Kellogg, first, the DA has to put that before the court. So I want to make sure we're in the right, parameter. Second, I have to hearken back to the Canon 3 and Canon 4. I can't answer, nor should any judicial candidate answer, hypothetical specifics. I will say there's some teeth, brand new teeth, I don't know if anyone knows about. If you are convicted, it's one of the two now misdemeanors if you're convicted of. One has been domestic violence. The second one is stalking, where you lose your Second Amendment right to carry a firearm. And that was changed by the legislature 2 legislative sessions ago. So keep in mind the enhancement, the penalty enhancement has been enhanced greatly in my view. So I hope that vaguely answers your question that I can't really directly answer.
Thank you for the question. Just to build on that a little bit too, I would hope if there is evidence of something like that, I would hope the attorneys that are appearing before me can adequately present that within my courtroom so I can make an informed decision, based on that evidence. I can't say obviously which way I would rule, but I would just hope that the attorneys, people that are coming before me, are well informed on that so I can make a well-informed decision, the best ability for our citizens in Boulder City.
Our final question, Barbara.
Hi, Barbara, representing Veterans in Politics. This one is for both of you as well. Describe the moment that you first decided you wanted to run for judge. Kind of take us back to that fun little moment.
Well, okay, so I've always thought, hey, one day, when Vic Miller retires, I would, I think I'm the most qualified in the town to fill his shoes, and his shoes are big. I'm not. No one was going to run against Vic that had any brains, right? So he had an opponent in 6 years ago, and I think I was on his re-election committee, and it just it wasn't going to happen. He called me and said he's pulling his name off the ballot, Chris. I want you to fly it. And at that point, I turned to my wife and said, hey, that was a good phone call. And she said, well, you're going to have to do it. And so that was the aha moment. It was in January. So.
Thank you for the question. As I said previously, I always saw a judicial path in my career. I'm kind of in the prime of my career, so I'm excited that this opportunity has opened up now. Similar to Chris, I also got a call from Judge Miller to let me know that he was retiring, and if I was interested in the position, I should go for it. And so I'm very excited at this opportunity. I'm currently raising 2 children in Boulder City, so Boulder City, the community in general, the safety of our residents is my number 1 priority, and I'm very excited at this opportunity. I'm young and I'm ready to do it, and I'm invested in that community in the long haul. So thank you.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. You guys sort of did a closing statement there with that last question. But Lauren, 30 seconds, why are you the best candidate for Justice of the Peace, Boulder Township?
Thank you. So I believe I'm the best candidate. As I said, Chris has many years experience. I have many years as well, but my experience, I've really tried to mold my career for this moment. I've worked in the public sector, as I said previously, in the city attorney's office for Boulder City. I then went into private practice handling complex civil litigation regarding the opioid crisis that's affected many Nevadans and many Boulder City residents. And now again, I've opened my own firm in Boulder City, again, to best serve our residents. And I want to continue doing so within this position. And I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Chris?
There's an old adage that you can't beat experience. And I have been doing criminal cases in Boulder Justice Court since 1994. I passed the bar in 1993. I just started taking criminal cases, and this is what I do. I appear in front of Judge Miller every other week in his drug court. I am just invested in the community. To say that is an understatement. I've raised my kids there. My dad and his siblings were raised there. My grandpa founded the Episcopal Church across the street from the courthouse. And so I'm here to serve Boulder City and do the job, and there will be no learning curve. This is what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to once again thank all of our panel members for being here, our candidates for being here today with us early on a Saturday morning. I'd also like to thank Monzu Italian Oven and Bar for sponsoring this event, Stephanie Phillips, candidate for United States Senate, and then the anonymous donation on behalf of Jerry Willock. So thank you everyone for being here.